This is going to be your horoscope for January 11th, Sunday the 11th, going through Saturday, January 17th. This entire week, we are building towards a new moon. And with the new moons as well as the full moons, we tend to feel them about a week before, certainly building, and then a week after, sort of the residue, if you will, of the intensity. And so, new moon weekend coming up here later in the week, but mostly during the chunk of the week. Chiron is the main player in the heavens this week. And so there is the opportunity for a lot of healing, but also the wound showing up and whatever it is that needs to be healed coming up to the forefront. So Sunday, January 11th, we got a couple things going on. So Venus is receiving a square from Chiron. Venus is over in really stable, earthy, grounded Capricorn, and she's receiving that square, that tension from Chiron over in Aries. Now, this is going to be exact 8:13 a.m. Pacific, and we are going to feel this one all week. So, what happens when Chiron is talking to Venus? He is bringing up all kinds of relationship wounds, the old stories, the old habits, the old patterns of relationship that need to be worked on. So, we can certainly feel that under the sky, and for the rest of the week, that we are shown what needs to be worked on, fixed, healed within partnerships. Those wounds get sort of activated in a square. In a square, we feel the irritation, the challenge, the poke of the activation of that wound, that fear, that betrayal, that fill in the blank, right? And so Chiron says, hey, here's what really hurts. And now is your opportunity to start the work of healing that thing. So Aries is such a fiery, bold, brave, really in your face sort of archetype, right? And so this wound that's showing up isn't quiet. This wound that's showing up isn't docile or subtle. It can be quite big. And with Chiron, he says, yes, this is big work, but here's a week where you can sort of dive into the healing of this. Here's an opportunity within this week to take care of this. And on that same day, as if that weren't enough, we also have the moon moving into Scorpio at 2:56 a.m. Pacific. That moon moving into Scorpio, great, but that moon is also receiving a square from Pluto. So the moon in Scorpio receives a square from Pluto over in Aquarius. This square will be exact at 9:02 a.m. Pacific time. And this just brings in intensity. That moon in Scorpio is already intense. Some people love to be under a moon in Scorpio sky. The Scorpios, yes. The other water signs are quite comfortable there too, Pisces and Cancer. Even the earth signs are quite content, able to sort of know how to be under a moon in Scorpio sky, can be a little uncomfortable for the air signs and the fire signs. That moon in Scorpio asks us to dive deep and go beneath the surface and really look at our trust issues, power dynamics, soul connections, karmic connections. It also has us looking at how we share our money, how we share our resources and our material wealth, so on and so forth. Okay, and that moon is receiving a square from Pluto in the morning. And so this is again this sort of second signature of things coming up this day, Sunday, January 11th, that want to be looked at. And when the moon squares Pluto, these things can have to do with our own femininity. It can have to do with our relationship to the feminine, our relationship to the women in our life. Our mother wound can come up here with the moon receiving a square from Pluto. There could be themes around looking at control issues and power dynamics and how to step into your own power and not give it away or claim it back in a sense. Um, we can be a little bit paranoid, a little bit suspicious. We are not so ready to trust under a moon square Pluto sky. It's just that intensity that comes in. So today, Sunday, January 11th, is a great day to do the healing work of relationship. You will know what it is because it will be activated this week, and then really going in between the layers of things, going into the depths of everything with that moon in Scorpio and the moon receiving a square from Pluto. Then we move into Monday, January 12th, and we still have Chiron speaking really loud in the sky. So we're doing relationship work this week, but also that Sun in Capricorn today, Monday, January 12th, is receiving a square from Chiron over in Aries. This will be exact at 12:32 p.m. Pacific, and we are going to feel this one all week as well. So now we're doing the healing of relationships from yesterday. Now we're doing the healing of the self. When the sun, the self, the I am energy, you, your vitality, your life force, this warm sunlight that you shine out onto others is receiving a square from Chiron. We are doing the work of our ego. We are doing the work of our very center, our very selves, right? This could bring up being uncomfortable with being seen, being uncomfortable with having the spotlight on us, being uncomfortable around receiving attention or not receiving attention, not being seen, like all these things coming up around our sun, our I am energy. So it's a beautiful day to sort of feel that wound come up and then move into the healing of it. What do you need to do to really hold yourself and appreciate yourself and give yourself grace, right? It is about the self when the sun is being spoken to. It's about our personality and our character. And what about that do you feel, do you get made fun of? Do you feel ashamed for? So on and so forth. It'll come up today and for the rest of the week. And so, a really beautiful opportunity to do the healing of the very, very self and who you are as you walk this earth. Chiron's not done. Tuesday, January 13th, we have Chiron speaking to Mars. So Mars over in Capricorn is now receiving a square from Chiron. Today, this will be exact at 2:33 p.m. Pacific. We will also feel this one all week. So to recap, Sunday, healing of relationships comes in. Monday, healing of the self comes in. Tuesday, now we have healing of our masculine energy. When Mars receives a square from Chiron, it could have this feeling of we are visiting the wound of our assertion. We are visiting the story we hold around what we go after and how we go after it. We're looking at how we take action. Um, where we have maybe steamrolled over people, where we have thrown elbows just to get to the front of the line, um, where we have disregarded other people as we plow forward and try to grab what we want, right? It's that Mars energy, especially Mars and Capricorn. Mars and Capricorn is very diligent about doing the work to go after what it wants. Mars and Capricorn will let nobody or anything get in its way and stop it, right? And so now we have the work Tuesday, January 13th of how do we assert ourselves and move forward? Do we do it in an overpowering way, or are we too shy to even use our assertive power and step forward and go after what we want, our desires, our goals? That stuff will come up to the surface today, and we're going to be working on that all week too. There can also be sexual energy healing with this as well. Mars does hold our sexual energy, and so when it's receiving a score from Chiron, any sort of intimacy wounds, sexual wounds, or old stories, habits, patterns can come up to the surface, those that really want to be healed. So it's a beautiful opportunity for that this week as well. Then we move into Wednesday, January 14th, and we get a little bit of relief here, you guys. Venus in Capricorn is finally receiving some support from Saturn over in Pisces. Venus is receiving a sextile from Saturn at 10:18 p.m. Pacific time tonight, but it's building all throughout the day. And we'll feel this one for the next couple of days as well. Venus, we've been doing that relationship work this week, right? We've stepped into what needs to be healed, what needs to be looked at, what needs to be sort of reconfigured within our partnerships. And Saturn comes in and supports that work and says, you got this. Saturn comes in and says, we can do the hard work of relationship. In fact, it feels good to put in the hard work. It feels good to earn something. It feels good to show up as a mature, responsible adult and do the work of partnership, the heavy lifting here, because it matters, because we care. It also creates a stability within partnership today, a stability, a reliability, a dependability where we can lean in on our relationship or our partners and they won't fall over. They won't run for the hills. It just creates roots being grown into the ground and really solidifying, like taking hold. And it brings in stability within partnerships, longevity within partnerships. Like we can really feel the support that our connections can hold today. It comes more easy today. Now, Thursday, January 15th, we have another story of Chiron this week. As if Chiron were not speaking to enough of the planets in the heavens, he is now calling on Mercury as well. Mercury in Capricorn is receiving that square from Chiron over in Aries. This is happening at 10:20 p.m., so it's building this whole day. We're going to feel this for the rest of the week as well through the weekend. That planet of communication is being challenged to create some healing around itself. So, Mercury square Chiron, we can be a little shy about our words today. We can feel like misunderstood or our intelligence isn't at its utmost performance today. We just feel a little bit like not as smart as the next person, or like everyone gets this topic except for me, or everyone has the answer except for me, right? And so working with your perspective on things, the way that you express yourself, that your words are important, that they do matter, that you do have a voice, all of that will come up today. When Mercury squares Chiron, it could be this feeling, right? The wound comes first with Chiron. So it could be this feeling of, nobody listens to me. What I say isn't important. I'm constantly talked over or shut down or, not listened to or unappreciated in my opinions and my advice. And so the voice is the wound. The way you express yourself is the wound. And that has the opportunity to really receive some healing today and for the rest of the week. Okay. So super Chiron week, right? To relationships, to the self, to our masculine energy and our assertiveness, to our ability to communicate. We move into Friday, January 16th, and the moon has shifted into Sagittarius and is receiving a square from Neptune. This will be exact at 3:19 a.m. Pacific, so we wake up under this energy with the sky. This creates some sensitivity today, but it's an ability to really tap into your heart center and to really open your heart and share some tenderness, share some vulnerability here. Because it is a square, we do have this feeling of like hearts wide open and anybody and anything can get in and have access to us. So on Friday, January 16th, it is a day where I would love for you guys to practice your boundaries because the tendency is for boundaries to go right out the window. The tendency is, here I am, take what you need of me, right? We are super compassionate. We can really see things from both sides. Um, we have a really soft, open heart today, so extremely empathic because we care so deeply today and we love so richly today, we want to sort of pour our all into whatever we are loving. And in that way, we can reach depletion. So just being mindful of, I can give, but I don't have to give to the point of completely draining myself, right? When Neptune is in a square, I want you guys to think about like a bucket with holes in it. It's leaky, it's draining. We want to stop up those holes so that the bucket can hold clean, healthy water. And so that moon squaring Neptune, yes, we're extra intuitive, sensitive, psychic, loving, vulnerable, tender, and we can get taken advantage of. We can, really sort of have the wool pulled over our eyes in the way of emotional relationships and connections. So just be mindful of that today. Then we move into Saturday, January 17th, and that planet Venus, which has been in Capricorn, is now moving into Aquarius. She is the first of the planets to move into Aquarius, and shortly hereafter, a lot of the planets will follow her into Aquarius, but she's the first. So Venus moving into Aquarius besides Pluto. Pluto's there already. At 4:43 a.m. today, Pacific, Saturday, January 17th, relationships are affected anytime Venus ingresses into a new sign. And so now Venus is moving into Aquarius. So there is there's a real opportunity in the next four-ish weeks or so for relationships to take on like a breath of fresh air. We don't want to do partnerships in the same old way that we've been doing them. We want to bring in the new. There's much more interest in doing things in a new way, a curiosity of doing things in a new way. You know, in a lot of ways, Venus and Aquarius, we get to experiment what relationship feels best for us and the rules that we want to follow in partnership. Venus in Aquarius laughs and mocks societal's rule book on partnerships. So it is an invitation and an opportunity to really make up your own rules within your partnerships. What truly works best for you, and it doesn't have to look like anyone else's way of doing things. So major permission for that. The rest of January and into February, there's a desire for that. And some of us might also feel like we need a little bit more personal space within our partnerships. We crave a little bit more freedom, individuality within our partnerships. That's totally natural to feel like that under a Venus and Aquarius sky. And how do we honor that? How do we value our independence and moving about freely while also respecting the partnership and the relationship and the stance of interdependence, right? We can be a little bit more emotionally detached. Anytime there's emotional content surfacing within a partnership, when Venus is in Aquarius, we tend to pull that emotion and filter it up into the intellect. And we study or we analyze the emotion that's coming up rather than dropping in the heart and feeling things. And for some of us, that's super refreshing because we don't get swept away in the waters of emotion. For others, it's like, God, why can't I reach your heart? Why can't I break through that sort of exterior, right? So it just depends on what floats your boat. You know, those of us that were born with Venus in Aquarius, you guys are coming up on your Venus return. And that's a really big deal. It's a transit that lasts only about a week. And, you know, depending on what degree your Venus is natally, when she reaches that degree collectively in the sky, on both bookends of that, that is a week where you are in your Venus return. And it is such a delightful, pleasurable, romantic, loving week for you. It's sort of like you're lucky in love, you're lucky in money. Venus also represents money. Um, and take note of when that is on your calendar. It's such a short little window, and you don't want to let it pass you by without doing something with this, without using this. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll be back with next week's.